The swelling in your legs reveals where the energy stopped flowing downward. In the coming days, you will feel your legs lighter, mobility returning, and the vitality that seemed lost re-emerging as long as you understand what's jamming this downward flow. There is a hidden blockage between hip and feet that turns your legs into a dumping ground for everything the body couldn't let go of. While this pathway remains closed, you carry weight that was never yours. Heavy legs drain your energy before the day even begins, make you avoid stairs, decline invitations, and live dissociated from your own body. Each step becomes a negotiation with gravity. Each late afternoon brings marked ankles and that inner pressure that seems endless. If you close this video now, you will keep carrying that invisible weight without knowing that the origin lies above the legs. The locking starts where you never imagined. This swelling doesn't start in the legs. It is born of a nervous system that lives in constant alert and redistributes everything to the center of the body, leaving the periphery in the background. When the hip locks, the diaphragm doesn't descend and the solar plexus remains semi-contracted. A descending blockage is created that prevents the flow from reaching the lower limbs. Your legs become a repository of fluid, tension, and memories that should have found passage downward but got stuck along the way. By reopening this pathway, you don't just release stagnant fluid, you dissolve inherited immobilization patterns that inscribe themselves in the tissue over generations. Alchemical traditions always recognized the legs as channels of descent, the place where that which has already completed its vibrational cycle should be returned to the earth. They knew that when the body forgets how to let weight move down, the excess accumulates exactly where the flow jammed, creating swelling, rigidity, and that feeling of carrying something you can't name. Polyvagal theory shows that prolonged defensive states constrict peripheral vessels, alter fascial tone, and redirect resources to vital organs. The periphery loses metabolic priority. What the ancients called fire that won't descend, neuroscience identifies as autonomic redistribution. The body keeps everything concentrated in the trunk because there, historically, lay the chance to fight or flee. Research on fascia and tensegrity confirms that connective tissue under chronic tension loses elasticity and drainage capacity, forming pockets where fluid and metabolic waste settle. Epigenetics brought another layer: experiences of paralysis, fear of moving forward, and literal impediments to movement lived by previous generations shape how your body retains weight and fluid today. Your legs carry not only the day's fatigue, but the memory of entire lineages that could not move freely. When the body recognizes that there is a safe pathway for descent to happen, it begins to let go. And this pathway reopens through a specific process that teaches the nervous system to include the periphery again. The release of swelling happens in 3 layers that connect like descending portals. First, you open the pathway at the root, where the blockage truly begins. Then, you guide the respiratory flow downward, teaching the body that it is safe to include the periphery again. And then, you stimulate direct drainage in the legs, returning to the ground the weight that remained trapped. This is not a mechanical protocol. It is a reconnection ritual where each phase prepares the next, and the body remembers how to let go. The first phase works on opening the pathway in the hip and deep pelvic fascia, the point where the descent literally halts. Lie on your back with knees bent, feet resting on the floor, and hips in a neutral position. Here, the body recognizes safety and can begin to release without activating defense. Let the weight of the pelvis rest completely on the ground without forcing anything, simply allowing gravity to do the work of creating internal space between the lumbar vertebrae and the sacrum. Now bring attention to the groin region, where the torso meets the legs. This is the portal that needs to open. Without moving the body externally, imagine you are creating internal space there, as if a narrow door were beginning to widen millimeter by millimeter. You may feel warmth arising in the pelvic region, a slight pulsing or tingling traveling down the thighs. These are signs that the flow is beginning to include the periphery again, that the pathway is being unblocked. Stay in this position for 3 to 5 minutes, breathing slowly and deeply without rush. With each exhale, feel the hips surrendering a little more to the ground, as if returning weight they held for far too long. If there is tension in the lower back or the pelvic floor, don't force relaxation. Simply observe where the body is still holding, and let your conscious presence soften the rigidity little by little without fighting, just witnessing. This first portal does not open through force, but through recognition. When the nervous system understands there is no threat, it allows the fascia to release the chronic contraction that kept the blockage active. What you are doing here is recalibrating the communication between torso and legs, showing the body that there is a safe passage for energy to descend. Some people feel their legs get heavier at this moment. That's good. It means the weight is finally arriving where it should be, instead of staying trapped in the pelvis. The second phase guides the breath downward, turning the diaphragm into an active drainage pump. Still lying in the same position, place one hand on the lower abdomen, just below the navel, and the other on your chest. Inhale slowly through your nose, directing the air to the hand on your abdomen. You should feel that hand rise while the one on your chest remains almost still, confirming that the diaphragm is descending completely instead of locking in the upper thoracic region. Exhale through the mouth slowly and in a controlled way, as if blowing through an invisible straw, keeping the abdomen engaged but without collapsing. On the exhale, imagine that the air not only leaves through your lips, but descends internally through the thighs, crosses the knees, travels down the calves, and exits through the feet. You are literally conducting the downward flow through respiratory intention. Repeat this cycle for 10 full breaths, each one deeper and more connected than the last. The nervous system interprets this low, rhythmic breathing as an unmistakable sign of safety when the diaphragm moves freely. The vagus nerve understands that the body is not in danger and allows the peripheral vessels to relax. This is not abstract visualization. It is real autonomic reprogramming. By consciously guiding the breath downward, you are signaling that the periphery can be included again in the body map, that the legs no longer need to remain metabolically in the background. Some people feel tingling in the legs during this phase. Others perceive warmth descending or a sensation of space opening internally. All of these are responses of a system reactivating drainage. If light tremors or involuntary muscle spasms arise, do not stop. They are natural neural discharges of tension that was stored. Keep breathing slowly, conducting the flow downward, allowing the body to release what it was holding without needing to rationally understand every sensation that appears. After the 10 breaths, pause and observe. You will likely notice that your legs feel different, more present, more alive, less dissociated from the rest of the body. This happens because you have just re-established the descending connection that was interrupted, teaching the nervous system that there is a safe pathway for the flow to reach the periphery. That is the essence of the second phase, not forcing drainage, but reopening the internal channel that allows it to happen naturally. The third phase seals the release through conscious touch, a ritualized gesture that completes the drainage initiated in the previous phases. Sit comfortably with your legs extended in front of you, or bend one at a time. Choose the position where you can reach your calves without creating tension in your shoulders or neck. Place your hands around the right calf, just below the knee, firmly but without squeezing, and take 3 deep breaths before initiating any movement. Now slowly slide your hands toward the ankle, applying firm, continuous pressure, as if you were literally pushing fluid and weight downward. This is not superficial massage, it is intentional mobilization of the fascia, the subcutaneous tissue, and the stagnant fluids that have accumulated there. As your hands move down, exhale long and consciously, maintaining the clear intention that you are returning to the ground what was retained, that you are completing the movement the body alone could not finish. Upon reaching the ankle, hold for a few seconds and then slide your hands to the feet, massaging the sole, toes, and arch with the same reverence. Feel that you are activating points of contact with the earth, reminding the body that it has permission to discharge weight through the feet. Repeat this downward movement 3 times on the same leg, always accompanied by a long exhale, and then switch to the left leg, maintaining the same quality of presence and intention in each touch. This gesture carries meaning. You are not just draining fluid, you are returning memory. Each time your hands descend along the leg, you are telling the body that it can release inherited retention patterns, that it no longer needs to hold the weight of stories that came before. The firm yet reverent touch signals safety. The synchronized breathing keeps the nervous system in a receptive state. The clear intention transforms mechanics into ritual, allowing something deeper than simple physical drainage to occur. When you complete the 3 phases, opening the pathway, respiratory descent, and drainage, through touch the body experiences a release on multiple layers. You may feel your legs visibly lighter, the breath reaching places that once seemed blocked, a subtle yet undeniable reconnection with the ground. The transformation doesn't need to be dramatic to be real. Sometimes the deepest change is the one that settles silently, like a fine-tuning that lets the body return to functioning the way it was designed to function. This sequence doesn't need to last hours. 15 to 20 minutes are sufficient when done with full presence. What matters is not the amount of time, but the quality of attention. By teaching your body that there is a safe pathway for descent to happen, you are not just relieving the symptom, you are dissolving the somatic cause of the blockage, reopening a portal that was closed and allowing immobilization memories to finally find a way out. And when that happens, transformation ceases to be a promise and becomes lived experience. Florence woke up every day with the sense that her legs belonged to someone else, heavy, distant, as if they carried something she couldn't name. At 48, a ceramic artist in Bristol, she had abandoned the morning walks she so loved, avoided the studio on the second floor, and felt quiet shame when she looked at her own swollen ankles at the end of the afternoon. What disturbed her most was not just the physical discomfort, but the feeling of being disconnected from her own body, as if everything that mattered happened from the waist up, while her legs merely bore weight without participating in life. For years, Florence attributed the swelling to age, to her posture at work, or to the sluggish circulation doctors mentioned without offering a real solution. Until one autumn afternoon, leafing through books in a small esoteric bookshop, she found a text on ancestral somatic medicine that mentioned descending blockages and how the body stores immobilization memories in the legs. Something in that language struck deep for the first time. Someone was naming exactly what she felt, but had never managed to verbalize. Her legs weren't just tired, they were carrying stories that were never hers. That very night, Florence began to apply the three-phase ritual described in the book. She lay on the living room floor, knees bent, and for the first time in years, allowed her hips to surrender their weight completely to the ground. She felt warmth arise in the groin, a strange pulsing descending through her thighs, as if something inside her were finally remembering a forgotten path. In the second phase, she guided her breath downward with clear intention, exhaling as if the air could travel through her legs and out of her feet. And for the first time in decades, she felt the lower abdomen expand without resistance. The third phase was the most transformative, as she slid her hands down her calves with firm, reverent pressure. Florence felt not only fluid moving, but something denser being released. Memories of not being able to run as a child, of grandparents who lived through wars and could never move freely, of an entire lineage that learned to hold everything and never let go. In the first 3 days, the swelling visibly diminished. In 2 weeks, she was back to climbing the studio stairs without stopping to catch her breath. In a month, she resumed her morning walks and realized her legs were no longer strangers. They were hers again. Florence didn't just drain fluid. She returned to the ground the ancestral weight her legs had carried for generations. She went back to creating larger ceramic pieces that required standing for hours, accepted an invitation to exhibit her work in a gallery in London, and, for the first time in years, felt that her whole body participated in her own life. What changed wasn't just a symptom, it was her relationship with her body. The sense that she had finally found the key to releasing something that had always been stuck, waiting for permission to descend. You can seal this same transformation now in your own body through a simple gesture that anchors the new state. Place your hands on your hips, fingers pointing downward toward your thighs, and exhale long and deep 3 times, feeling the weight descending from the pelvis to the feet. This is your physical marker, the breath that reaches the lower abdomen without catching, the warmth that flows down the legs, the sensation that the ground is closer, more real, more available to receive what you no longer need to carry alone. Whenever you feel your legs getting heavy again, return to this gesture, hands on the hips, 3 long exhales guiding the weight downward, and the inner phrase, "I return to the ground what is not mine." This is not an abstract affirmation. It is a somatic command that reactivates the descending pathway you have just opened, reminding the body that it knows how to let go, that there is a safe passage for drainage to happen. When you repeat this ritual in moments of overload, you are sealing into the tissue the memory that release is possible, that your legs are not a prison but a portal of return where heavy stories finally find an exit. The swelling in your legs was never a failure. It was always a precise message that something stayed where it should have moved down, that inherited memories needed to find a passage to leave the body. When you learn to open the descending pathway, you are not just draining fluid, you are dissolving immobilization patterns that cross generations. You are returning to the ground stories that were never yours to carry alone. Release doesn't come from external force, but from the reactivation of internal processes that were dormant, waiting for you to remind the body that it knows how to let go. Rainer Maria Rilke wrote that perhaps all terrible things are, at bottom, helpless things asking for our help. Your heavy legs were not enemies, they were helpless messengers asking you to look at where the flow had stopped, to return attention to what was abandoned. Each time you conduct the breath downward, each time you touch your calves with the intention to drain, you are responding to this request, offering the body the help it always needed but never knew how to ask for in words. When the pathway between hips and feet reopens, something greater than a physical symptom transforms. Your relationship changes with your own story, with the lineage that came before, with the weight you believed was destiny, but was merely memory awaiting release. You stop living against your legs and begin living through them, realizing that they are not just mechanical support, but a sacred channel of return, where everything that has completed its cycle finds passage back to the soil. Stagnation dissolves, not because you fought it, but because you taught the body that there is a way out. The body is a temple where God dwells, and when you clear the descending channels, the divine presence flows unobstructed from crown to feet, touching every cell with the remembrance that liberation is original design, not heroic conquest. Your legs return to what they were always meant to be, the axis that connects sky and earth, the portal where that which is ready to leave finally finds permission to descend. The sacred is not only above, it is in the complete movement, in the ability to receive and to release, to let life circulate without retaining anything but what is alive. When you learn to release the stagnation that settled in the legs, swelling ceases to be a prison and becomes a passage, and the body once again has a way to let the heavy story go. Carrying weight was never weakness. True wisdom lies in learning to return it. And the moment your legs remember how to let go, you understand that lightness is not the absence of load, but the presence of flow. If this video resonated with you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. If you wish to directly support Inner Temple's mission and help bring this knowledge to more people who suffer from leg swelling without knowing the hidden origin, consider becoming a channel member. Your contribution keeps this transmission of ancestral wisdom and somatic neuroscience alive. I want to know, are your legs responding? Write in the comments, I release the swelling in my legs and recognize the hidden origin. Share this video with someone who needs to know that heavy legs are not destiny, and don't stop here. Click on the screen and watch another transformative video. There are other blockages in your body waiting to be seen. Remember, your legs were never sick. They were simply guarding what the rest of the body didn't have the courage to release. And when you teach them that they can drain, you don't just regain mobility. You reclaim the right to fully inhabit the temple that has always been yours.